guys, it's Mrs. D'Amato from the Oldham School. How are you doing? I hope you're having some fun time at home and enjoying some good stories. Today I have another book for you. It's called Frog and Toad Together. So it's the same two characters, Frog and Toad, two best friends, supporting each other and having fun together. This is also a chapter book, and so we're going to read a couple of chapters from it. So as I read it to you, I'm going to pull up the pictures so that you can see the pictures as I'm reading the story to you. All right. Frog and Toad Together. The chapters in this book are a list, the garden, cookies, dragons and giants, and the dream. So right now we're going to read the story called The Garden. So as you can see the numbers after the chapter names, I'm going to go to page 18. We're going to read about the garden. And in this story, you're going to notice how Frog and Toad are friends, and Frog is going to help Toad in this story. See if you can notice some ways that Frog helps Toad, because Toad has to do some hard work, and he's going to need his patience. The garden. Frog was in his garden. Toad came walking by. "What a fine garden you have, Frog," he said. "Yes," said Frog, "it is very nice, but it was hard work." "I wish I had a garden," said Toad. "Well, here are some flower seeds. Plant them in the ground," said Frog. "Soon you will have a garden." "How soon?" asked Toad. "Quite soon," said Frog. Toad ran home. He planted the flower seeds. "Now seeds," said Toad, "start growing." Toad walked up and down a few times. The seeds did not start to grow. Toad put his head close to the ground and said loudly, "Now seeds, start growing." Toad looked at the ground again, but the seeds did not start to grow. So you know, if you've ever planted seeds, they do not start growing right away. You definitely have to be patient and wait for them to grow. Toad put his head very close to the ground and shouted, "Now seeds, start growing." Frog came running up the path. "What is all this noise?" he asked. "My seeds will not grow," said Toad. "Well, you are shouting too much," said Frog. "These poor seeds are afraid to grow." "My seeds are afraid to grow?" asked Toad. "Well, of course," said Frog. "Leave them alone for a few days. Let the sun shine on them. Let the rain fall on them, and soon your seeds will start to grow." That night, Toad looked out of his window. "Drat," said Toad. "My seeds have not started to grow. They must be afraid of the dark." So Toad went to his garden with some candles. "I will read the seeds a story," said Toad. "Then they will not be afraid." So Toad read a long story to his seeds. All the next day, Toad sang songs to his seeds. And all the next day, Toad read poems to his seeds. And all the next day, Toad played music for his seeds. Toad looked at the ground. The seeds still did not start to grow. "What shall I do?" cried Toad. "These must be the most frightened seeds in the whole world." Then Toad felt very tired, and he fell asleep. "Toad, Toad, wake up," said Frog. "Look at your garden." Toad looked at his garden. little green plants were coming up out of the ground. At last, shouted Toad, my seeds have stopped being afraid to grow. And now you will have a nice garden too, said Frog. Yes, said Toad, but you are right, Frog. It was very hard work. So that's the end of this chapter, The Garden. And you can see in this picture, Toad is sweating and he's just so tired from doing such hard work. But actually, after he planted the seeds, most of his hard work was coming from his worry. He was not being very patient. And so his friend Frog helped him to be patient. Well, I hope you enjoyed this chapter in Frog and Toad, and I hope to see you next time where we're going to read a story called Cookies. Have a great day.